Yes, black again. You know, um, I was saying, I was start by saying that um, I was trying to give the impression of um, creation of mankind, and I was saying that the black woman and the black man, from the black woman perspective, and from the black man perspective, you could take the DNA, the genetics. The black woman could take her genetics and splice it with the genetics of an animal and infuse it in the womb of a female, the black woman, and you will have some being created which is half woman, half woman and half animal, you know. And you could take the man's genetics now and splice it with animal genetics, whichever one you choose. Could be ape, you know, whichever one you choose. Most likely it will be an ape or you know. So when you take the genetics of man and you splice it with the genetics of an ape, you're going to get an upright walking ape. You understand? Now if you take the woman's genetics now, and rather than infusing it back into a woman's womb, you infuse it in an animal's womb now, you're going to get a different result. And when you do that, when you apply that same method to the man, side, you get a different result. So what I'm explaining to you now, I'm giving you the different ways that you can go about doing it. So that shows you the different types of hominids that we will be finding in this present day when these paleontologists, archaeologists go out in, you know, the fields of Africa. You know, that explains the range of different fossils that they're finding. Basically what I'm trying to say. You understand? And it explains the missing link in the evolution theory where they just can't put together. Because they're finding all these different fossils, and yet still they lined it out, you know, give you from the hominids, the Neanderthals, and the Homo sapiens, which is modern man. Although they give you the lineup, they still have a missing gap to make the connection, to make the evolution theory be a real thing. And that's where engineering comes in. Engineering fills up the missing spot. Because the only way you get the upright walking ape is if you splice the genetics of a man and an animal. You know, but evolution explains it by saying that it just happened magically, because they don't want to give the credit to the black African for creating them. They will come up with silly theories like evolution, and everything just sprung out of nowhere. You know, and everything just creating its own habitat magically. When you know they call it natural selection. When we could clearly see everything is perfectly designed. So if everything is perfectly designed, it must have a designer. Simple common sense, simple basic, you know, reasoning. Simple. We have to go deep and, you know, simple. You must have a designer. So that throws out evolution, you know, right out the window. So when we recognize and our eyes are open now, we will see it's really engineering that's taking place when it comes to creating mankind. Because keep in mind, the Caucasian and them that have been investigating in the universities and they're the world leaders in all these types of affairs concerning creation of man and who came first and this, and they're the ones going out in the field and they're the ones that have the money to do the expeditions and do all the finding, and we're just looking and hearing what results are coming out. So we have to put the puzzle together. You understand? We can't rely on them to put the puzzle together because they are not in the right position to put the puzzle together. But we are. They're in the right position to go and find out the evidence and find the money to pay for the expeditions and go and travel and do all this type of things. They're in the right position to do that, but they're not in the right position now to make a total conclusion of what's really taking place. You understand? So I'm laying out the foundation first, before we get into the videos. And my previous video I had to stop, and to go and do something important, so I'm back again. So we continue right now as we go along. So we touch on the creation of man. We touch on the hominids. We touch on how it is possible to splice genetics and fuse it and what comes out. And I should mention also that when the Black Africans was in full bloom with this science, it was black people that have been created first until they developed the science to stomp out the black gene. Even today, more than today, you just could rub yourself with some cream and your whole color will just disappear. The whole black color will just disappear and will be turned pale. You understand? So simple. But our ancestors was doing it from genetical aspect. You understand? So it wasn't just to make a Caucasian just rub yourself with cream and you just turn Caucasian. No. You still, even though you try and take out the color of your skin, you're still a black, you're still black. You're just doing something to yourself. So the Caucasian was created differently. He was spliced with animal first. This is why, since he is on top of all this type of research in the world, he trying to talk for everybody and say everybody comes from the ape. This is where everybody comes from, evolution. Everybody comes from the ape. The apes are our ancestors. They believe these apes and these monkeys and these gorillas and these things were created before man and woman. That's what they believe. They believe these animals were created before man. It's a stupid idea, indeed. Because God is man and man is God. The same way the black woman is God. You understand? The both of them mix up the both man and woman mix up the concept of God. It couldn't be God with just one aspect. They have to be together to make the concept of God. This is the whole science of creation. The whole balance of creation. You have the feminine aspect and you have the male aspect, which represent man. Feminine represent woman. And then from that, like I was saying, the black African splice his genetics and created mankind, all the different races that we see. And we went about doing it in different ways to bring different outcomes, even to bring out the Chinese and bring out the Indian and bring out many hunter-gatherers tribal people on the little islands in Africa and out of Africa, all in the Caribbean, Arawaks. You understand? So it was a worldwide creation in play when the black African, which is called the Titans, which they are called the Anunnaki. The reason why I call all these names represent these black Africans because they created giants to help build the pyramids. Just like today, the Europeans, they build big machines, strong machines that could crush stone and all these type of things, you know, to clear out a whole mountain. You know, they have these tractors and these heavy trucks that could clear out the whole mountain. You know, so our ancestors created giants who could go out and cut out big stones and carry them and build pyramids and monuments and all these type of things. This is the Titans. Understand? Alongside the normal size African midgets also. So how comes people believe in midgets? We see midgets in our day. Yeah, midgets exist, it's real. Yeah, we all know that, we all see them. But some people farming and whatever, because that's the genetics being passed down. Just like the giant genetics, it has been passed down also. You know? All these things have been passed down. The stomping out of the gene, the stomping out of the black gene, genetics, to take out the color, it has been passed down too. That's how we have albinos. We have been born with no melanin. This is the effect from that. It's like we have people growing way taller than the normal size. So yeah, so basically I've been down enough, so we'll go into our video right now. You know, and we're gonna pick up the clues and match them to what has been said already. And we're gonna see how we're gonna make everything turn out in the picture. So I'm gonna play this video right now. I'm gonna.
And Dr. Tim White, Professor of Integrative Biology.
The fourth lecture is titled Hominid Paleobiology. And now, a brief video to introduce our lecturer, Dr. Tim White.
The traditional image, I think, of the paleoanthropologist is a sort of
I'm going to bring it back
a way of
to touching the point. Since I the stream is really bad because I'm recording and so I gotta have the proper recording app.
From the Howard Hughes Medical Institute, the 2011 Holiday Lecture
And this is the old video, right?
on Science. This year's lecture is Bones, Stones, and Genes. The origin of modern humans will begin.
Now keep in mind it said the origin of modern humans. Like I was saying already, when these people are talking about the origin of modern humans, they're not talking about the black people, they're talking about themselves, because they're the modern humans. You understand? They are the youngest race on the planet searching for the origins. And they are being hypocritical with it because every time they come up and find the answer, black comes up. You understand? So they don't want to see the black people create them, so they will say aliens or make up mythological stories like the real mythological stories like evolution, when they're plainly showing you engineering taking place, one creature turns to another creature, you know? But they're saying all this happened magically, nobody really knows. It's just molecules and atmosphere and temperature and all this type of thing, and just creating things magically, specifically. And we know when things being created specifically, there is, you know, someone doing the creating. You understand? You don't want to give black people the credit. So they are the modern humans. So whenever they are speaking about creation and talking about this and that, they're talking about themselves. You know, black people history go back forever and ever and ever and ever. And the more we go back, the more advanced we get. In ancient time, we were more advanced. When you check out the open history, the further you go back, you find yourself in caves, drinking blood. You understand? And if you go down further, you find yourself as hominids, and the Neanderthals and these type of things. So that's why they're going and finding these skulls and tracing themselves back there. So let's go.
Be given by Dr. John Shea, Professor of Anthropology at Stony Brook University.
I won't do much videos.
Dr. Sarah Tishkoff,
More pictures
Professor
and,
of Genetics and
So just bear with me for
Biology at the University of Pennsylvania.
One video right now.
And Dr. Tim White, Professor of Integrative Biology at the University of California, Berkeley. The fourth lecture is titled Hominid Paleobiology. And now, a brief video to introduce our...
Now I just want to highlight, same thing I was explaining a while ago. The black woman take her genetics and splice it and create a hominid. And it's right there. You understand? You're looking at it right there. The black woman took her genetics, the genetics is right there. Splice it and created the hominid is right there. You can see the skull to your left, and the black woman to your right, with the genetics in the middle. So they're showing you exactly what is taking place. But since we are being brainwashed, traditions, these traditions mix up your personality and the way you think. They can show you the truth and you still won't see it because you're programmed. That's how the brain works. Whatever is in there first, you know, it has to be override by something else, for you to see a different picture. You understand? But the picture that's been playing already, that's the picture you're gonna see, unless it's override. So they have to unbrainwash you so you could actually see with your eyes clearly. You understand? So that's what's taking place. A lot of people. So everything is really in front of us. They're showing to us, The Caucasians never do nothing new. They do everything exactly how it is, but there's brainwash that don't allow us to see that they're doing it directly. You understand? And that's what's taking place. So let's go.
Our lecturer, Dr. Tim White.
We're not going to go too far down in the video.
The traditional image
portion of it I want to highlight.
Paleoanthropologist is a sort of an amateur who rides off into the desert on a camel, kicks some skull out of the sand,
see the hominid looking black?
Exclaims "Eureka!" Publishes a headline,
on the screen right
and then
there.
A personal book about how wonderful it was to find the fossil, and then goes on a lecture circuit. That is not the way modern paleoanthropology proceeds. Modern paleoanthropology is a multidisciplinary effort. So you can come to be a paleoanthropologist through all kinds of different disciplines to give you a far space sciences. Today, that's how we find the sites we find them from the top of a camel. We find them from satellites, satellite imagery, digital imagery. We don't control where we are from looking around an area. Photograph the way it was, say, 25 years ago when I started in this field. We go out with differential GPS and we can code that and put it right in our field logs. And so computer scientists have a role to play in this. It's human evolutionary.
Alright, so basically what he's saying, because my is streaming very bad. Basically what he's saying back in the day, they had to go on foot, or, you know, when I mean on foot here, they had to walk and go on foot in the spot to find the location, the geographical location, you know. But now, in the modern days now, they have satellites where they could use and get the geographical location, you know. So what he's saying here, we advance, you know. So what I'm saying right now, to have satellites in space to show you your geographical location and all that, all these angles that he's explaining to help them find the fossils is equipment that is engineered. It's engineered equipment. Satellites is engineered structures, you know, mechanical structures, you know, designed to, you know, do whatever it does. You know, so all this type of work is engineering. So what I'm saying is, if everything surrounding finding these fossils, you know, is helped to find by things that are engineered, you know, that alone should tell you already that the fossils that you're going to find could also be engineered. But if you keep a good listening and check the vibes, they will never bring up engineering as a possibility of the creation of man. Because if they bring up that idea, then everybody will come to the conclusion to what I'm saying and say that the black African person, the black African engineered mankind into existence. So they'll never come to that idea. They will tell you men come from outer space and they'll call them the Anunnaki. Right? And splice the DNA because they were looking for gold. You know, they have the technology to live from one solar system to the other, looking for gold, and then they cannot mine the gold properly, so they have to create people to mine gold. So they splice the DNA and created human beings to mine gold. You know, so they mix up the whole story because this story comes from a specific location on Earth, and they are all these different stories pertaining to creation comes back to Africa, which has the original story of creation. If you get what I'm trying to say. So let's go on. I don't want to go too deep. Yeah, because all these Anunnaki and the Nephilim and what do you call it? The Titans and the black Africans with the black giant Africans also. You understand? Because if you're going to speak about giants and ape men and all these things, it's going to be produced out of Africa first, because we don't want to develop the science to this type of level that we create in people. You understand? So we're going to go down.
Studies really is an integrative science, and it's a science that needs specialists from all different walks of science, bringing together their joint expertise.
All this is engineering. All this is engineering taking place. So everything they do is engineering, but you never bring up the possibility that mankind could be created by engineering.
How we became human. I hope that some of them will become interested, even passionate about this, and go on and contribute themselves, whether it's in the biomedical area of human evolutionary studies, or the geological area, or the anthropological area, or the ecological area. There are many different ways that one can contribute to the understanding of how
all these areas of engineering. Just to highlight one more thing, we're going to go to the next step because it's extremely very good.
Hello again, and thanks again to the Howard Hughes Medical Institute for providing this venue and this opportunity we have to talk about hominid paleobiology. I've broken this into two modules. The first one we're going to go with is our last 4 million years. We're going to have to proceed pretty quickly to cover 4 million years in 40 minutes. Let me give you a preview where we're going. First, we're going to go into the Afar Rift. This is an area in the Horn of Africa, right there at the target. We're going to drill down at a study area that I work in called the Middle Awash. We're going to climb back up through time, first in Africa, and then across the entire old world to give us a more global sense of our evolution. And then we're going to look at hominids in the tree of life. Where do we fit? Let's start with the African continent, because we are all Africans. That's where we began. Multiple times, it turns out.
Okay. This is kind of the string.
And when we fly across this great, vast continent, we
Okay. So basically he's saying that we are all African, that's where we started from. So basically I'm saying now, the reason why he's connecting himself to Africa is because of the hominids, you know, because they are tracing themselves back to the hominids, and the hominids are primarily found in Africa. You understand? So they are tracing themselves back to Africa through the hominids. So it shows you that what I'm telling you is exactly what they are saying. So don't get confused and think they're talking about you. He's talking about the Caucasian race, and the Chinese race, and the Indian race, and all these tribal people. You understand? So that's how everybody could connect themselves to Africa and say they are Africans. It's through the hominids. Because the hominids are primarily found in Africa. The oldest ones are found in Africa. And this proves the oldest place on earth where you could find fossils and stuff like this. So that's why all these races connect themselves to Africa is through the hominid. You understand? So it's basically what he's saying. You understand? So our ancestors created hominids, upright walking apes. You understand? And we could find them in every continent. Today, in China it's called the Yering. In America it's called a Bigfoot or the Sasquatch. I think in Russia it's called a Sasquatch or something like this. Correct me if I'm wrong. You understand? You understand? So different parts of the globe is called different things. And yes, all the ancient creatures still exist today. These creatures live for a very, 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 very long time. So these creatures have an enormous amount of intelligence and knowledge. But I'll leave that for next subject, for later down the line as we go along explaining these creatures and how these creatures are being used, or how these creatures are using, save mankind today, in many different ways, So give thanks. So we're going forward and we are going into the black Africans, the Titans. We call the Titans the giants, because Africans created giants also. You understand? And we're going to prove this by showing hieroglyphics in the walls, the pyramids, which nobody want to talk about. And we're not going to try and break down anything. We're just going to look at the pictures for ourselves. And even before we get to that, let's go into. Let me go into that first. If I get to the Titans, the black Africans, which is the Anunnaki, everyone is talking about, the giants who can splice the DNA with animal DNA and create mankind. Because from the Sumerian point of view, I think it's the Anunnaki. And from the, I think the Indians have their aspect of it, and the Romans and them have the aspect of it, which is the Titans. You understand? So, I wanted to highlight. Let me try this one. I wanted to highlight something. Basically, I explained it already, but just to show. Okay. Sorry about that. Just wanna do something meanwhile that page is loading. Okay, the page is taking too long to load. I'm gonna pause for a while and I'll be back. Yes, I black again now. What I wanted to go into it, my page just refused to load, so I think I'm just going to skip it and go right into these symbols right here, these hieroglyphic symbols. Now we're not going to get into what it means. We're not breaking down what the symbol means. We're just taking things simple, right? We're just going to look at the hieroglyphic and see what we see with our eyes, without trying to explain anything away, or saying what this symbol means or what that symbol means. We're just looking at it and we are saying what we are seeing. So as we could see immediately, we could see upright walking ape, right? We could see the top part of the ape looks, like an ape, and we can see the bottom part of the ape looks human. So whatever the ancient African Egyptians were doing in their daily lives, we could see they're expressing it on the walls of Kemet. We could see they expressing it in the walls when they're describing their history and their creation story and many other stories. So we could see immediately the engineering taking place on the wall with human genetics, animal genetics. Remember I said when you take the genetics of the woman and you splice it with the animal, let's say you splice it with the ape, right? Genetics for ape. and you infuse it back inside of a womb of a woman to be born with that mixture, it come out of a 50-50. Now, if you take that genetics, instead of infusing it in the womb of a woman, you take it and you put it inside the animal, and that animal give birth to something on the level, it will be more animalistic with human feature characteristics also. So that's what we're looking at here. This has more, actually it's I wouldn't say it has more because it's more like a 50-50, but it you know, so we could see half of it is human and half of it is ape life. But I'm bringing it up just to show the difference of outcomes you could have with the different type of techniques that they use when it comes to engineering. So our ancestors were very familiar with this type of science. We could see this all over the world. So I just wanted to highlight that. And there's many others that we could highlight, like we already know. You know, Horus with the hawk head, you know. Then we have the god Thoth with the bird head. I think called an ibis bird or something like that. You know, so we're moving on. So we're going straight to the Nephilims. You know, it was said that the sons of, in the Bible, it was said that the sons of God came down, you know, and mingled with the women and created giants. And they were, you know, we call them men of renown. Renown means like, you know, great. So they were big. Great means big, you know, big. People in society, huge. You understand? So the sons of God came down, and this is the Christian, the religious Christian. Actually, Christians are not saying they are trying to get away from the fall of giants and saying this type of stuff. But you get it in that book there, the Bible book, the King James Version. You understand? And that's their encounter of it in that book. But the Romans now, when you go way back in the Romans, Greece, they have a different version where they call them the Titans, the giant people which are gods. You understand? They give us in that version. And when you go to the Sumerians now, they have it in the version of the Anunnaki, the giant Anunnaki come down, you know, from galaxies and come and created mankind. You know, so so you could see when it comes to the Sumerians, a lot of mix up of, you know, so there's a truth in everything. But we keep in mind that all these civilizations, Africans created all these civilizations and gave them a culture. So this is why all of them is relating the story similar to the African story. You understand? Because Africans civilized them all. You know? So they're trying not to give the credit to the black Africans, the black African giants and the Africans. Because giants live alongside normal sized Africans. They're giants in all races. You understand? Just like they are albinos in all races. You know, and we see the remnants of that. And they are midgets in all races also. We see the remnants of that. So as we immediately already seen, when we look into the hieroglyphics, the pictures depicted on the walls of Kemet, you could see the giants. I don't even have to point them out. Understand? You could see the giants carrying the heavy ton bricks, cutting them, you know. We could also see the normal size people attending to the giants, you know. You know, so this explains how we could build pyramids to line up with the stars, because the Titans that was helping creating the pyramids alongside the normal sized Africans, they were very tall. So this gives us a better range aspect when it comes to aligning. Pyramid building and monuments and these type of things. You understand? So we could see the giant Africans helping building the structures, and they hide the facts of the giant bones that have been found. They're telling us about the hominids, they're being honest about the hominids and the skulls that they are finding, the elongated skulls, but they're not being honest about the giant fossils that they're finding also. You know? In ancient Kemet, they also mummified the animals, and millions of animals were mummified in Kemet also. Why? Because this animal was used for experiment concerning genetics and creating different type of mythical creatures, as we call them. Mermaids. A mermaid is just genetics of a fish and human being blend together, well together. You know? That I believe for so long that these creatures have gathered enough information where people today go to them for certain information, certain powers to do certain things, to control people and do all type of things in the world that we live today, sorcery and all this type of thing, you know. So all these things we hear about sorcery, magic, and all these things and spells, and all these things have an origin, where they come from. We could explain these things in a way that we can understand. Simple. Without going into all the mystical type of thing where we get lost. Understand? So we could almost would immediately see the giant titan, black Africans, erecting this megalith, this obelisk. You could see the Africans, these giants are actually the same height as these megaliths that they are erecting. You can see for yourself, without trying to explain, without trying to say this is that and that is that, just watching with your eyes and making your own decision, you can clearly see what is taking place. That's what it looks like today. You know? I don't know if this specific one is still there, because you know the Europeans come in and put them down and run to Europe with them, you know. So, but we could see here is the evidence, primary evidence of giants. I saw in a comment once where somebody said that the giant, there's this particular picture of a giant holding someone's by the hair, ready to slew them. And this person's comment was that the giant doesn't mean he's a real giant, but it represents the power. But we have so much hieroglyphics with giants all over. They all represent power. They always gotta show giant people literally to represent power. Huh? So what about the giants helping carrying the tons of bricks and like we're watching right here, erecting the obelisk. Yeah? So the same way other things in Kemet are symbolic, the same way other things are literal also. So we gotta know what is literal and what is symbolic. And there is a lot of literalism and there's a lot of symbolism. You understand? There's a lot of symbolism and a lot of realism. Literally. You understand? So that's what we're looking at there. So you can clearly see giants in Kemet. And why? Why we're the only one who have these records? Because we are the first people of creation. All these different races that call them the Anunnaki and call on the Titans and all these names, they're talking about us, the Black African. The Black African and the black giant African who built and civilized the whole world. And yes, there's a lot of questions surrounding the giants and where are these giants now. And all this is the next subject we're going to get into. All this, you know. But first we have to understand that these beings did exist. And they still exist. You understand? So we have seen the primary evidence. So we're going to show the remnants of this right now. We're going to show the effects of this, you know, coming up to our present day. You know? Coming up to our present day. I'm waiting for the page to load, play some music, you know. So this is the effects of the giant that has been passed down through genetics, the blood. You understand? Like I said, there are giants in all races. Okay, so it was a worldwide experiment. It was a worldwide experiment. So there are giants in Caucasians also, and in Chinese, and in Indians. But the first original giants, they were black. So we could see, I don't even have to say anything, we could see how tall these people with these genetics, how tall they are. They were giant in their times. You understand? All different type of realities there. You could see people with two people in one body, and you know, all different type of things. So we've seen all different experiments was being taken place. And we see the effects of it, just like the effects of midgets. We still have midgets today, we still have albinos today. We still have albinos today that have been born albinos in all races. You understand? That's when you're developing the ways to alter the genetics so that all your color will just wipe away. You know? When you're developing that science, this is the effect that came from it, that something, you know, the way they were doing it, it caused it to have an effect that passed down through the bloodlines of these experiments they were experimenting on. And we still see the effects of these things today. You understand? That's why we could see people growing this tall. In the early Americas, that's thing they don't show you, they don't tell you about. So we could see it was a normal thing that giants exist. So it's not fairy tales. Where do you think the fairy tales come from? The fairy tales will only come from reality. You know? Fairy tales could only come from reality. You know? This is why the hieroglyphics in the wall, this is why I say most of it is symbolic also. Because the symbolism carry the message throughout generation to generation. It's how the message is being transported. You know? This is how Babylon is transporting their message they are polluting people's minds with. By the cartoons and the movies and all these things. And all these things is from Kemet, the walls. We're the first to do all these things. These stories of ancient times, it was like movies to us. When we hear these ancient stories, when we hear about these stories, ancient time, You understand? All the depictions in the walls and all this was the movies back then, learning about these things. You know? So Babylon coming with the same method now, showing us movies and TV and cartoons. Because keep in mind the depictions of the walls is also drawing. Cartoon is nothing but drawing. You know? So we could make the link and see where it come from. You know? Now we watch the effects of the giants. So what about the effects of the animal DNA? That's within. These people are being created. You know? This is a key reason why the earth is going through what the earth is going through, because of all these science that have been taking place, and people have become very, very savage and warmongering and bloodthirst because of the animal behavior that is breaking out. So we have seen the giant effects broken out and we see people in America growing very tall. They are giants also, and now we are looking at the effects of the bloodlust and the ones who eat flesh, animal. And everybody know about the Chinese already. And the Chinese eat any type of thing. Understand? So, and Africans was taught all this type of thing in slavery also. You know, a lot of us were taught this in slavery also, how to eat blood and eat meat. You know, it's something that we adopt. Understand? So you know when you adopt something, it becomes yours. So right now the Africans think a lot of people in the Caribbean and in America, eating meat is their thing. But we adopt this thing because when you adopt a child, you adopt the child in the sense that's your child. Understand? The same thing, we adopt these ways from this European, this slavery, so we come and it's our thing. It's not our thing. You understand? This is the effect of the animal genetics breaking out of the human being after thousands of years. You know? We still find the genetics is being broken out. This is why the Caucasian is doing wild over the planet right now, killing and rampaging and murdering and raping and all type of thing because of his imbalance. That's within him. And he just want to kill and control and dominate. Understand? That beast mentality. You know, the Chinese expression is some type of thing where they're eating all manner of things, they're eating human beings. Caucasians are also human beings too, and they're killing us human beings also too. So anyone who eats corned beef, you eat hot dogs and then you eat McDonald's and you can't take in these major companies. And this movie is eating human beings from way back. They have been feeding black people themselves. Yes, they have been feeding black people themselves. It's very sick of things now because you know nothing for the whole yet. When Africans was these people were engaged in drinking blood of their own conquered death. They were drinking their own blood, their own blood of their own people. You understand? So that's what they've been doing back in caves. Now since this caveman DNA break back, this DNA keep haunting them and so whenever these caveman DNA comes out, that's the news that they will have towards themselves and anyone. You know? So that's why you have all this vampirism going on behind the closed doors and all these secret and all these things that we've been hearing about. So she's hunting a frog right now and she's doing some things too. That's really the frog right now is one too. So this is the animalistic as a human being. So if you were fully an animal, so I just buy that one time and put that there one time. But since she's also a human being also, she has to become a friend so that she could get it up. And keep in mind, some of the blood is raw also. The Caucasian is raw meat all the time, so there's nothing new. genetics. You know that this was a battle because of not knowing food, these herbs and spices, you know, and grains, you know. So this is why I like to show the breakout. I don't have to go in too many videos like this to show you because we all show the next and we all show the food and we see these videos coming out all the time. So you have to use that. But this thing like this thing where you're seeing that. You understand? Yeah. So I'm going to continue this video. Just give thanks, you know? What do you have to say? Black again, Jah Rastafari.